Set. Places, everybody. And action.
It's time once again for the Hooked on Movies podcast. Today, we continue with our movie starring Tim Allen. 25 years ago, satirical science fiction comedy Galaxy Quest was released, and we're going to take a look at it. With me are Ken.
Whoever wrote this podcast should die.
That would be you. And Ted.
You know, Ken, with all that makeup and stuff, I actually thought you were smart for a second.
And as always, gentlemen, never give up and never surrender. We're
Okay.
talking Galaxy Quest. What has happened with us since the last time we were doing the old podcast here? Ken, how about you?
Well, we celebrated Christmas.
Yay,
So-
Christmas.
Yay, Christmas. Got some presents, a lot of action figures, Blues Brothers, a Vincent Price doll, a Pee Wee Herman bobblehead doll.
Nerd.
Yeah, I like my
Celebrity action
Does-
heroes.
Does it
I like that.
actually go? Does the Pee Wee Herman doll
Keep it clean. Keep it clean, Ted.
All right.
well, he wants to know for his own personal preferences.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Exactly.
and a Starship Enterprise model. Yeah, got a few other things.
Maybe you should be in Galaxy Quest.
That's
you should
all
be.
That's
I love Star Trek,
unfortunate.
so
Yeah.
this is right up my
unfortunate.
alley. Anyway, as far as what I've been watching, I haven't really watched much lately. I did check out the new, I can't say the name.
Nosferatu
Nosferatu, and I saw Nosferatu with Eric.
in the theater.
Aw.
That's
in the
right.
theater. Yeah,
No, don't get your hopes up. It wasn't that good.
I liked
Wasn't-
it. but
wasn't any
I,
good?
I understand why Eric didn't care for it. Like 3/4 of the movie, he turns to me, he shows me the yawn sign. I'm like, yeah. And basically, it's Bram Stoker's Dracula revisited. You know, it's a lot of the same stuff.
But I like Bram Stoker's Dracula a lot more, actually.
I like this a
I
little bit
enjoyed
more because there's actual actors in it, not like Keanu Reeves.
Wow.
So-
John
Sorry,
Wick
but
would be
Keanu-
upset.
Keanu Reeves in Bram Stoker's Dracula is bad.
I will
It's-
say the cinematography in this is really good. I will give it that. It's visually very stunning.
Thought it
Kind
would
of
be
like,
scarier.
kind of like the Witch. Did you ever see that?
No,
Okay.
Dated one.
don't do it, Ted. Don't do it. Don't do it. No.
Actually,
No.
she considered herself a witch. What do
No,
they call
Ted.
those people?
Wiccan.
Wiccan.
Wiccans. Yes. Dated a Wiccan. That was kind of.
That's
odd.
interesting for you. Did she?
I was very young and just wanted to have a girlfriend at the time. So.
and
She's
into
trying to
witch
sacrifice you?
and into witches.
Hey, man, whatever, right?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Ken's like, oh, yeah, witches? Oh, I didn't know that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would
Sweet.
sacrifice.
Hey, have you seen The Craft? Yeah. All
That's my
right.
favorite
Oh,
love
the
it.
craft.
Yeah.
God.
movie. No,
Okay.
actually,
Craft
this
actually
relationship
has
was a lot before The Craft.
Oh, boy.
The
Okay.
craft has a good soundtrack though.
Yeah, it's a good flick.
This is
Yeah,
when I.
some white
This was
zombie in there.
a coven, actually. I actually did
It was a covenant?
a coven.
Coven.
A
She was
coven?
actually
Well,
part of a
I
coven.
actually,
Wow.
had actually dated all three sisters. So
Well,
God damn,
goodness.
get it done, dude.
At the same time? Look at you.
not at the same time. Well, I dated one initially. She wasn't interested in me, but then her sister asked permission to date me, and me and her dated for a while.
Like
And then
real
when me and her
sister, like
broke up-
real life sister.
Real life sisters, yes.
Wow.
And
wow.
then after that sister, me and the other sister, I took her to her senior prom. So this was like, I was like 19.
Look
And then
at
he
years old.
started
you.
dating the mom.
Yeah, exactly. They have any?
Actually, I became
they have
roommates
any-
with their cousin.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
was just gonna say.
Wow.
Did you go through the cousins too?
Wow. Wow.
Ken ran through the whole family.
Wow.
He was like the flu or
Yeah,
diarrhea
yeah.
or something.
Only one of the sisters did I have like a serious relationship. The other ones were just kind of, I
Yeah,
was
but
really
still,
good friends with one.
What do you
Yeah.
guys talk about on dates? So how's your sister?
How's your
How's your
sister?
sister? Does she ever talk about me?
Did you ever talk? Yeah, right.
God damn, dude.
That's
But that's
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
awkward dates there, especially by the third sister. You're like,
yeah.
just
Oh, I
forget.
did.
Pick them up for a date. You're like, oh, hey.
Hey.
how's it
You
going?
would think it'd be awkward, but somehow it all worked. It all worked, but it's
Well, they were witches. It's all okay.
The ladies' man.
only
over
one
here
of them was a witch. The other one were.
Oh.
with his Cavassier.
And it's funny because the one who proclaimed to be a witch later on actually became the Christian out of the
witch?
three. So
Oh. Well, that's disappointing.
yeah,
I was hoping you'd say she was like a total witch and like
Yeah.
put spells on you and
Yeah.
on that note,
I'll put a
I'm
spell
looking
on
forward
you.
to watching the TV series Evil. So I've been
Oh,
getting
yeah.
ready
It's a
for
good.
that.
It's a good
So
series. I
looking
enjoyed it.
forward to that. So
haven't seen it, but one of my podcast listeners, Nick DiGilio, worships that show, so I've heard
Yeah,
nothing
it's-
but good things about it.
How about you guys? What about Ted over there?
Oh man.
Well, I know you guys watch the Notre Dame game.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I'm prepared to cross my fingers and
Hope Georgia doesn't.
cross my
crush you?
toes and,
Yeah.
and watch Georgia,
Mhm.
watch them play Georgia. So yeah, so a lot of Christmas stuff. I watched. I actually went back and watched a couple of shows we covered. I watched Love Actually again for the first time since we covered it. Go back and listen to that episode. That was actually a really good episode, and
Did a really good movie.
I have a
Yeah,
higher
yeah.
opinion of that movie now than I did when we reviewed that movie. Actually,
Yeah. No,
Actually.
I enjoy it a lot. And I watched, of course, I watched It's a Wonderful Life, and I watched The Night Before because I like that movie with Seth Rogen and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and The Family Man. I watch that every year too.
That's a great movie, Family
Yeah,
Man.
with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a modern day It's a Wonderful Life.
yeah, a little bit.
And of course, I watched the ultimate Christmas movie, Die Hard, because it's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls from the
That's true.
Nakatomi Tower. But then, yeah, I watched our movie Galaxy Quest, and I watched The Phantom of the Opera, and because I like that movie. What else? I think that might be about it. I've watched a series on Max called Fear Thy Neighbor, and it's all about these feuds between neighbors. It's kind of interesting, but nothing real serious. I've been trying to keep it light. Of course, I listen to podcasts. I listen to Small Town Murder with Jim and Jimmy.
That's keeping it light.
Yeah, I think they're funny. They're two comedians that do true crime. I re-listened to the podcast, the Generation Playlist podcast that I do with Justin. We did a Christmas music episode. So how about you, Eric? What have you been running around doing?
Well, watching a lot of football like you gentlemen, and I've got some movies here and some shows I've been watching. Been a little varied here. You might like a few of them, then again you might not. So I'm done with season 4 of The Sopranos.
So
That's
So-
fine.
let's
Tony
see.
and Carmela have separated.
Yes.
That's where we are right now. They were going to buy the Whitecaps house.
Yes, the Whitecaps.
Yep.
So you've passed the best episode of all time,
Which is?
where Michael Imperioli and Tony they go out into the woods and they're looking for the Russian.
Yes, and they almost freeze to death. They're in the
Yes.
van. Yes.
That
Yes.
is my favorite episode
Yeah,
of all
that's
time.
a great episode. Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yep. So I did that. I started and finished season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Did
and I
you like
have-
it?
I did actually. I actually really did
Yes.
like it. I have season 2 queued up, ready to go. I've taken a hiatus from Yellowstone because my wife is out of town, so we'll watch that
yes.
when she
Yes.
when she comes back. I watched for the first time John Wick 2 and John Wick 3.
Okay.
I have John Wick 1. Some rom-coms. Anyone But You.
Oh, did you like it?
Typical rom-com. It was okay. Wasn't great.
I thought it was funny.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
It makes me laugh.
Some classic stuff. Rumor Has It with Jennifer Aniston.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
That's funny too.
Nosferatu with Ken,
Yeah.
obviously.
Okay, yeah.
I watched the Aaron Rodgers documentary, Enigma.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's pretty interesting. Did you
Yeah.
watch it?
No, I've not watched it.
You should. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's
he's a trip. That's
he
for sure.
he is definitely doing some trips. Yes, he's out there.
Yeah, he's interesting.
He's very interesting. Yes, and then obviously I watched.
Does he actually talk about the lizard people? Because he believes in the
No.
lizard people.
No, lizard people did not come up.
Okay.
But half of it is, it's everything from childhood up until, him coming back to the Jets and stuff. A lot of it's him in Costa Rica, him meeting with RFK to become vice president nomination.
Oh, yeah. That's
just
interesting.
all the weird drugs he was taking, all the
ayahuasca,
everything.
Yeah.
And he's out there. Let's put it that way. Well, I used the term dirty hippie a lot. Well, he's definitely went into that category.
But he's a crazy dirty hippie.
He's definitely he's a unique guy. I'll give him that. Ted, the final movie I watched, you'll appreciate this one. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Never seen it before, so I thought I would turn it on. 2010, the year we made contact.
Oh, yes.
Roy Scheider,
yes.
It's an okay movie.
It is an okay movie. It's definitely not on par with 2001.
It's not even close.
No, it does drag a little bit, as the reviews say, but...
Well, so did 2001.
No.
2001 definitely dragged. The first 30 minutes of the film, it's boring.
Anyway, let's just cut Ken out of this conversation.
We've done this review. In fact,
yes.
Eric,
No, 2010.
I'm talking about 2001, though.
Yes.
Was boring the first 30 minutes of the film.
It was, with the animals and the bones
it all fits together.
Still stunningly beautiful.
But you can fit all together. It doesn't mean it's not boring.
My problem with 2010 is it tries to rationalize a lot of what happened in 2001.
Yes, it does.
And because actually Arthur C. Clarke wrote a sequel to 2001 called 2010, and I don't believe they have anything to do with each other.
I like their version of what 2010 looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
They have dolphins in their house and their little pool, pet dolphins, and
right.
Well, it's not as bad as 2001. I mean, where Howard Johnson is like the main place you stay at.
Yeah, but that's 1968. I mean, that's
Stanley Kubrick was going from the time. I mean, Pan Am was the biggest airliner in.
Oh, they mentioned Pan Am in this one too.
Yeah.
Pan Am's still around.
I don't care for how they try to give you an explanation as to why Hal did what he did.
True.
Or what it did.
What Hal did, and then they have Sal, the female.
I like our explanation on the podcast better.
Yeah, no, that was an awesome podcast.
The movie, it wasn't bad. I mean, it was. I've seen worse.
It is, but it's.
I understand how they try to tie everything together, and now there's two sons. Yay!
Yeah. It pales in comparison to 2001, in my opinion.
All right,
but it does stand on its own as a decent movie.
Yeah. So, speaking of first-time sees, when's the first time you saw this movie, Ken?
I actually saw this on cable.
Oh, bullshit. You were sitting there dressed up in your red Star Trek outfit going to see
I remember when it came
Quest.
out. See, the thing about this movie is it wasn't really well marketed. And I didn't even know the movie came out until it was already at the dollar shows and stuff like that. So because this movie really didn't have, like I said, a market.
They didn't push it. Yeah, that's kind of in my particulars too.
Yeah,
cool. How about you, Ted?
It was probably on TV. I actually don't remember the first time I saw it. So, and it's been so long. It was like seeing it for the first time this time again. So,
I must have rented this movie 20 years ago. 15 years ago.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's when I saw it. I haven't seen it in a couple years. So somehow I have a DVD copy of it. I didn't even know I had it. So that tells you. It doesn't, but it's a DVD copy that doesn't have a case.
Oh,
it's part. I have probably 10 random DVDs that don't have homes. So they are all together. And this is one of them. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. I'm not sure where I got it, but rock on. There we go. Okay, so the big question, of course, is what qualifies you to review this movie, Ken?
Well, hold on. First, Eric,
What?
are you doing a Sarah McLachlan commercial for your DVDs without homes, or do they cry?
Won't you donate, please?
In the
Please.
arms of an angel.
Yes, they're sitting in a little box with snow falling on them, and yes,
I saw a little video on Reels, and it was like my dog every time I'm eating food, it looks like a starving dogs from one of those
yes
commercials. Yes.
Oh my goodness,
that's hilarious.
So what qualifies me is I've actually gone to these type of conventions, and I've met William Shatner. So
you've met the Shat.
I met the Shat.
Haven't we all met the Shat?
No,
he's
I've
very
not met
accessible.
Shatner.
You've met? Oh, that's right. It was someone else.
Yeah.
Yes, I was with Ken when he met William Shatner.
Yes,
too.
you were.
Yes,
yes, you were.
I said father. No.
Yes, father. My rationale, my reason why I'm qualified to do this is because, like the cast of this movie, I detest those conventions. They don't like being there. I wasn't blown away by it either.
Yeah.
But meeting Shatner was kind of cool. I did enjoy that a lot.
Yeah.
Anytime William Shatner is anywhere, I'm there. That's
the Shat is pretty awesome.
How about you, Ted?
How about me?
How about you?
I like to make fun of Star Trek, just like this movie.
That is true. That is
true. This movie does not make fun of Star Trek.
It's an homage.
It's an homage.
It kind of does. And then you have these little weirdos like we're going to talk about in Galaxy Quest that, sit there and think
You've
that
turned a
they're
LARP
actually...
that I did for a couple years into a colossal waste of time.
Exactly. I mean...
Get a life, people.
Shatner even makes fun of the people at the conventions. I mean...
86 episode SNL, and boy, did he piss them off.
Oh, yeah.
They did not have a sense of humor. It's a great episode.
It's hilarious. They hated the fact that he was in Fanboys, which...
They don't hate that. That's a misconception. Well, you mean Star Wars fans hate that he's in Fanboys.
I actually thought it was hilarious that he was in Fanboys.
Well, and Shatner actually, when they gave George Lucas an award, he actually was the first guy to come out and recognize George Lucas, and he did it as thinking that he was doing it for Star Trek. So
yeah,
but I mean, we'll talk more about it later on because as much as William Shatner has problems with his co-stars and everything, he's very much like Tim Allen's character here, Jason, where he's really good with his fans. He is really good
with his fans.
No, he's amazing.
Yeah.
You can't deny William Shatner's.
So Alan Rickman would be the George Takei character in this, with his hatred. Yes.
He's like Worf, though, isn't he? We'll talk about it.
Well, Worf. Well, now you're talking about the loser Star Trek. So
wow,
was that Deep Space Nine or Deep Throat Nine or something?
Hey, keep it PG, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hey,
the sperm of Khan.
Time for Ted with his particulars. Ted.
No. You are forgetting about where they can find this great podcast.
Where can they find us, Eric?
I don't know.
Are we?
I don't know. We're nowhere. So we're on Facebook. We're on X, hooked on _movies, supposedly. And we're on the Dorkany Network. So
yes, we are.
Yeah. Be sure to say hi to the Dorks for us on the Dorkany Network. And
there's some good podcasts over there.
Yeah, some good stuff. And now,
YouTube.
This time it's not visual YouTube, so you won't get to see our happy mugs talking. But you'll be able to listen, hopefully, to all episodes on YouTube. Give us a listen. Hooked on Movies. Hopefully, type it in. You'll find us. Yes.
And you don't want to see us on video because right now you would see a doll sitting on Ted's lap with a weird look on his face.
It's not a doll. It's
what the hell is it?
It's one of my Christmas presents.
Cartman.
Is it Cartman?
It's a.
Looks like Cartman.
It's a snowball.
Looks like Cartman.
No, it's not Cartman.
And he does look like he has a satisfying look on his face. So good job.
He does.
It was a gift.
His eyes
from
are crossed.
It was a gift from my two nieces, and they thought it was cute.
They probably didn't think you would do that to that doll.
Okay, little snowball. It's fine.
Okay. He does look like Cartman.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Nate.
So let's, do we want to talk about particulars?
Yeah, let's talk about some particulars.
Tell
about
us
our
some
movie.
particulars about Galaxy
Oh,
Quest. Since we talked
okay.
about every other movie on the planet, let's
Yes.
talk about Galaxy Quest.
Star Trek: The Wrath of... Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Galaxy Quest, directed by Dean Parisot, and was a Parasot. I don't know how he pronounces his name. Screenplay by David Howard and Robert Gordon. It has a running time of 102 minutes. It was released December 25th, 1999. So released on Christmas,
Well, how about that?
but I guess back in 1999 they didn't promote Christmas day releases like they do now.
No, and I think this thing was kind of pushed towards the old back.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely not how movies are done now, being released on Christmas Day. Christmas Day has become one of the biggest movie days of the year, along with
Ken,
Thanksgiving.
wasn't Nosferatu, wasn't that released Christmas
Yes.
Day?
Yes,
Okay,
it was.
so that was
Yes.
opening week. Okay.
Yeah, along with the Bob Dylan movie.
Yeah.
You don't like Bob Dylan?
No, I'm kind of wishing maybe we saw the Bob Dylan. We were debating between Nosferatu and Dylan, and we're kind of
Okay.
like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
let's see Nosferatu.
Okay.
So now I'm kind of like, well, maybe we should have went and saw
Maybe we
Dylan.
should have done that.
Yeah.
I got you. So, Galaxy Quest had a budget of $45 million, most of which probably went to Tim Allen. It had a box office gross of $90.7 million, so it basically made double its money, which is ironic. Why didn't the Star Trek people come out and... I don't know. Anyway.
They did. It doubled its money.
Yeah, so I guess so. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it has on its critic score, it's a certified fresh 90%. So it got a lot of praise from the critics, but it only has a 79% audience score, which
79's not bad.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a. I mean, it's 11% difference in between the critics and the audience. That's a big difference. On IMDb, it's right along with the Rotten Tomatoes score. It's a 7.4. When we look at who's starring here, we have Tim Allen, who plays Jason Nesmith, who is Commander Peter Quincy Taggart. Sigourney Weaver stars as Gwen DeMarco, who plays Lieutenant Tawny Madison. The great and uncomparable Alan Rickman as Alexander Dane, who plays Dr. Lazarus. Tony Shalhoub, very funny, as Fred Kwan, who plays Tech Sergeant Chen. Sam Rockwell plays Guy Fleegman. He's their cast handler at the conventions, and he played crewman number 6, who dies shortly in one of the episodes.
It's episode 81 to be exact.
Yeah, you would know that, wouldn't you, Redshirt? Daryl Mitchell as Tommy Weber, who plays Lieutenant Laredo. Corbin Blue as young Laredo. Enrico Calatoni as Mathesar. Robin Sachs as Rothar Saris. Rothar, that sounds like he should be... We'll talk about it, but he should be in Gwar, shouldn't he?
Oh, Gwar? Yeah, he does look like he's in Gwar. Put a guitar on him and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Patrick Breen as Quilek. Missy Pyle as Lalari. Jed Reese as Teb. Justin Long, interesting, as Brandon. He's a dedicated fan of Galaxy Quest.
Very young Justin Long.
Yes, very young.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne Pereira as Lath. Samuel Lloyd as Nehru. But he doesn't wear a jacket.
Nice.
And Dwight Schrute himself, Rainn Wilson as Lonnick, and Joe Frank as the voice of the Protector computer. Yeah, and this is Rainn Wilson's first starring role.
Justin Long's.
Oh yeah, Justin Long. Yeah, Justin Long's cool.
So when did The Office start?
Was it 2008, 2009?
So this is well before
Yeah.
Okay.
This was before he became
Dwight Schrute,
because
yes.
Dwight's awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
But
The
yeah,
Office started in 2005.
Okay, so about
I was a little
about
bit
6
off,
years, 5. Okay, yeah. Well, let's talk about Ken's Tidbit.
Ken's tidbits. Ken's tidbits.
So the original script was by David Howard, and it was originally titled Captain Starshine. And he got the idea while at an IMAX presentation where one of the trailers was an upcoming Americans in Space, which was done by Leonard Nimoy.
Was that a documentary?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
Leonard Nimoy was not in space.
Yeah.
It was a
Well,
documentary where he did all his voiceovers. Like
Shatner's actually been in
yes,
space.
he has.
So he was thinking about this trailer, and he figured how far these actors from Star Trek have come to be kind of typecast in these type of space type of things.
I totally agree they've been typecast. So,
But Leonard
Yeah.
Nimoy did like what was the thing that he did
In Search of.
In Search of? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not
He
typecast.
did voiceover work, and he did Invasion of the Body Snatchers and a few other little
Well,
things.
yeah,
but
that's true.
come on, he's Spock.
But Shatner did T.J. Hooker. He's broken out of being.
But yes, but
Yeah.
he.
But think
But he's-
about all these actors that were in Star Trek besides Shatner. I mean, Nimoy did a thing here and there, but even Search of is kind of has that kind of sci-fi thing, going in your head. Think of all the other actors that were in Star Trek. Where are they? They're nowhere to be found except for Star Trek movies, right?
True. George Takei, yeah. But
Oh,
you
so-
look at the next generation guys. LeVar Burton was reading Rainbow. I mean,
Okay, those aren't
So-
really Star Trek movies, so let's move on.
Okay, so now you're really going to cause trouble. And I'm
Ken-
the Star Wars guy. You're
Ken
gonna cause
knows
trouble.
my theory on Star Trek.
So I do too.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
No Shatner, no Star Trek.
that's right. Let's
So-
move on.
So producer Mark Johnson, who first had to deal with DreamWorks, they did not like how Howard's script was, but they were fascinated with the concept of space aliens who misconstrued an old episode of television as reality. And so Johnson went ahead and purchased the script and had Bob Gordon use the concept to create Galaxy Quest. Johnson wanted Dean Hersalt to direct, but DreamWorks was not interested in him, even though he just had recently done a movie called Home Fries. They wanted Harold Ramis because of his experience, and they hired him
Comedy,
instead.
yeah.
Ramis wanted Alec Baldwin for the lead role, but
I can
Baldwin
see
turned
that.
it down.
I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that. Steve
They also
Martin, too, I
wanted-
heard.
They also wanted Steve Martin and Kevin Kline.
Hmm.
Klein,
I
I
can't
can
see
see
Kevin
both of them.
Kline. I can't see Kevin Kline, but I can see Steve Martin.
I can see Kevin Kline. I think of him as Dave as the president, so I think he could
yeah.
play off a pretend character like that. So I could see Kevin Kline, but he declined for family reasons. But the production company wanted to hold fast with Tim Allen, so Harold Ramis was out. He got out just because he did not want Tim Allen on board.
Interesting. Okay.
So
He stood his ground.
Parasite took over the directing. Later on, Harold Ramis would say that he made a mistake. And Harold Ramis's idea of this would be more like a Spaceballs type of episode. And he didn't want Sigourney Weaver on this project either, because he didn't want anybody who had sci-fi experience to be in this movie.
Interesting.
Which is weird because Sigourney Weaver has said you probably would want some people with sci-fi experience on this movie because they understand how science fiction works, and that's how it would make it funny.
They can do the absurd language that goes into sci-fi.
Ramis kind of later saw the movie and thought it was really good and thought Tim Allen was actually perfect for the role after all. As far as other people that were up for these lead roles, this is Sam Rockwell is actually one of his first films. He actually he thought about not doing the film, but one of our favorite actors and blackballed from movie making, Kevin Spacey, convinced him to stick with this movie.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah,
because they were friends back then.
Yeah, I had seen that. That's interesting because, and I thought watching the movie that I'm like, this has to be one of Sam Rockwell's first movies.
He was unknown at this particular time.
It's funny. It's interesting that he was friends with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
I like Kevin Spacey.
I would imagine people were friends with Kevin Spacey at one time.
I like Kevin Spacey too.
I still like his movies. I can't say I like him personally.
He's a good actor. I like his acting.
Yeah, he's a really good actor.
And Justin Long said he was nervous for auditioning because he was going up against Kieran Culkin, Eddie Kane Thomas, and then Tom Everett Scott. I like Tom Everett Scott.
Geez, everyone with three names.
Okay.
Wow.
Everybody with three names, right?
Yeah, all right.
I could have seen Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this too, if we're going to go with three named people. But
Right.
I'm kind of glad Kieran Culkin didn't get it because I really like him in Billions.
Well, I mean, this is 1999. He's much younger then. So.
Oh yeah, true.
But that's pretty much all I have for my tidbits at this time. There's other stuff that's interesting about the movie, but I'd rather talk about it while we talk about the movie.
Cool.
So that's
Okay.
end of Ken's tidbits.
All right. So we go into the setup.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the cast of the 1980 space adventure series Galaxy Quest attend fan conventions and make trivial promotional appearances. Through the series, former star Jason Nesmith thrives on the attention. His co-stars, Gwen DeMarco, Alexander Dane, Fred Kwan, and Tommy Weber resent him and the states of their careers. At a convention, a group calling themselves Thermians approaches Jason for help. Thinking they want him for a promotional appearance, he agrees. The next morning, when they pick him up, a hungover Jason does not grasp that the Thermians are actual aliens who have transported him to a working recreation of the Galaxy Quest starship, the NSEA Protector. Jason believes he is on a set and performs in character as he confronts the Thermians' enemy, Saris, who demands the Omega-13, a secret superweapon with unknown capabilities mentioned in the show's finale, but never used on screen. Giving perfunctory orders, Jason manages to temporarily defeat Saris.
So the movie starts off with the old television series, right? I find it interesting that one of the characters, Fred Kwan's character, is Chinese. You don't really see
Tony
it through the
Shalhoub,
rest.
yes,
Tony
clearly.
Shalhoub.
Yes.
You don't see it through the whole rest of the movie really like that, but in the promo of the show, he squints his eyes.
Yes.
To be Chinese like. It's really bad.
It is.
But it's funny at the same time because his character is supposed to be a pot smoking
Yeah.
character. He's supposed to be high throughout the whole movie. And that's why he's always munching on things. Why he's always like eating stuff because he's high throughout the whole movie.
All right.
So nothing phases him. If you watch him throughout the whole movie, nothing really phases him. And we'll talk about a little bit of that later on.
Yes, you can tell, like, as the movie goes on, he's more high. You could tell. I mean, you didn't see that?
I never.
You
I
didn't
never
know.
put
You
that
didn't
together.
make that connection when he's in like the engine room. And he's got the guys behind him, and he's talking to the captain. He's just like, "Dude, I don't know, man."
FYI, man.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's so clear that he's high as a kite. It's funny.
He's always eating something.
Yes,
he's always like having something to eat.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, yeah, I never put that together. There's
some deleted scenes that would have actually made you see that it was more apparent. But that was the idea that his character was always like high throughout the whole process.
Okay.
So,
all right.
and that's why later on in the movie he doubts himself because he's no longer the actor he once was because he's always getting high now.
All right. That's cool.
We're introduced to all the characters and right off the bat. I always thought Sigourney Weaver was attractive, especially in Ghostbusters, but she takes a notch up here with that wig. With that wig, she is hot to trot.
I mean, yeah, I get the wig. I was concentrating on something else, so.
Well, I understand that. But we've seen her in a sexy outfit before.
Yeah.
But the wig, actually, I've never seen like a wig like that transform somebody from one look to another look that much.
Interesting. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, she's pretty hot, that's for sure.
And then we find out that they're all going to this convention here. So, and I guess they make a lot of these convention appearances. From what I take it, none of them have a acting job any longer.
It doesn't seem that way.
Yeah, it just seems like the conventions and commercials, and they open a dealership, I think. Or
Yeah. They opened that dealership. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Being at conventions and things of that nature and seeing how people dress up and go crazy. I don't know if it's as crazy as what we see here. I mean, there are probably some conventions that are that crazy. I think what makes it normal for this convention is the bathroom scene where Nesmith, he has to go to the bathroom and you got those two guys ripping on everybody that's there.
I guess something like that really happened to Shatner.
It does make you ponder what he probably does for a life, for a living now, and realize, where he was and where he's at. I think it makes these characters multidimensional, which these characters could have easily been just one-dimensional, but I think by doing something like this at the beginning of the movie, making him doubt who he is, especially at the beginning when he's like so good with the fans, like we were talking earlier about how Shatner's good with the fans. He's sitting there signing autographs, but telling stories and treating them like they really matter. And then that, of course, changes after
the bathroom incident.
Yeah, he gets disillusioned with the whole thing. But we have to talk about Alan Rickman. Unfortunately, he has that stupid thing on his head the whole movie.
I think he would take it off at one particular point, right?
Yeah, you would think.
It's probably just a couple hours in makeup to get it on and off. So
he's awesome here.
Alan Rickman's great in everything he does.
Yeah, I've never seen him be bad in anything. I love his character here because he plays the foil to Tim Allen's character perfectly. Always taking him down a notch. It's hilarious.
And he blames him. He blames him for his current career status. He's like, I did Hamlet, I did Shakespeare, and now look at me.
And he dresses up and tries to leave the convention.
Yes.
And they have to go get him to bring him back.
The show must go on. It seems to always bring him back. Yeah.
Well, he's a true actor, and he has to fulfill his...
And he understands.
Originally, that character was actually supposed to be the bad guy.
Yes, I heard that.
That would have been a totally different movie. Well, because Alan Rickman is always the bad guy.
He's not the bad guy in Dogma.
No, he's not the bad guy in Dogma, but in most movies, Alan Rickman is the bad guy. So they were going to originally have him be the bad guy in this movie. But
it's the accent that really does it. Let's be honest.
You got to think of it.
It's because
Die Hard and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yes.
I mean, let's keep it 100.
Mm-hmm.
He is the best bad guy of all time. He's Hans Gruber.
Of course.
But I think he's awesome. And we all three loved Dogma. He's perfect as the Megatron in Dogma. And I hope that with Dogma 2, he comes back. Oh, he's not going to come back. He's
not
dead.
coming back.
God damn it.
Nice. Maybe in spirit, because he is kind of like an angel.
Yeah. Or hopefully they have outtakes.
He's the voice of God,
something.
actually, in that.
But,
but he wanted to do this movie because it was a comedy. Because he was being, outside Dogma, he was being typecast as the bad guy. So he didn't care for science fiction as much. He just cared about this being a comedy.
At its core, this is a good comedy.
It is.
Take the Star Trek and all that out of it. It's funny. It's a funny concept.
Well, I actually would say you have to keep the Star Trek stuff in it to make it funny, because they do play it straight.
No, they do.
And it's the things around them, which are the Star Trek stuff, the TV episodes.
That makes it so funny. It's satirically funny.
Yeah, and I think that's why having serious actors like Alan Rickman and Sigourney Weaver, who are serious actors, having them play their roles straight against Tim Allen and Tony Shalhoub, it makes sense. And I like that dynamic. I like it when you have a comedy and you have some actors who play things straight, because it makes it funnier, in my opinion.
I think the best comedies are ones that play it straight while all the craziness around that happens around them and their reactions to it. And
Right.
movies that I think about like that are Airplane, Naked Gun movies, where
Right.
you got Frank Drebin, who's actually a straight character, but all the stupid stuff happens around him. Those are what makes movies funny, is people's reactions to things that are crazy, that happen out of the ordinary, that make us laugh. And I think
And people that are like fish out of water, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Airplane. He's funny, but that's why Airplane's Airplane. But
yeah, which we'll eventually do. I do like a lot of actors here. I mean, everybody here is cast perfectly, I think, for their part.
yeah, I agree.
Originally, I didn't like the guy character, but throughout the years, I've appreciated his character.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ken. When watching it, I was like, I don't really care for him a whole lot. He kind of wears on you. And I like Sam Rockwell. I've come to really appreciate him. One of the roles that really made me really appreciate him a lot was 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. That I thought he was
where he's the sheriff deputy.
Yeah.
That's a really good movie.
For me, was Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Okay, yeah, no, and that's an interesting movie.
That's an interesting scenario plot in itself.
Yeah,
we'll have to do that movie too, because that's a trip.
He's a very talented individual. I mean, he could dance like there's no tomorrow. Well, he's an amazing dancer,
and he plays a good bad guy too. I just recently watched him, and he was the bad guy in something.
Charlie's Angels. I love that movie.
I might have caught that.
I know Eric's not a big fan of these conventions, and I went with Eric, so I can tell his enthusiasm.
They freak me out. I mean, I get it, but not my thing.
What about you, Ted? You've been to conventions, and have you met famous people and have had opinions about them?
My ex-wife and I we went to the horror convention 3 years in a row, and I met Sid Haig, who was, of course, Captain Spaulding in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects.
What were you dressed up as?
We didn't dress up.
I find that hard to believe.
But I know, right?
As a victim? You dressed up like a victim?
Yeah, I dressed up as a victim.
Victim number 6.
Yeah. The interesting part of the horror convention thing was I got to meet Robert Englund. I thought that was pretty cool. But there were people dressed up, but there was a lot of people dressed up like Svengoolie. People wanted to dress up like Svengoolie.
Was Svengoolie there?
Yes.
Okay.
He's always there.
What convention was this?
These are the horror conventions. They were in Rosemont, at the Hilton across the street from the Donald's Convention Center.
Yeah.
That's an interesting dynamic of people that go to these conventions. And we were big horror guys. We actually met. He played the redheaded kid in Children of the Corn. I can't think of his name now off the top of my head, but it's an interesting dynamic of people, because some people take it very, very seriously, but then other people are kind of in on the joke. What's really interesting are the vendors, in my opinion. The vendors are out of control. That's a whole different breed of animal. But yeah, it was really neat. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the horror conventions, and I don't know exactly why we stopped going. I know Ken's been to the Beatles convention. Do people dress up like the Beatles?
No, not usually. No.
Nobody dresses up like Sgt. Pepper?
No, we don't usually get those type of, especially now these days. I think the dress up is more anime.
Yeah,
when you go to these Comic-Cons, you see more anime dress ups, and I'm not an anime guy, so I don't know
No,
these people are dressed up.
I am not either. My daughter likes some of it. But as far as like Star Wars, because I've never been to a Star Trek convention. There was a couple of documentaries about people who go to those Star Trek conventions.
It's called Trekkies.
Trekkies, yeah, that was actually pretty interesting. But like Star Wars has, when they do their like thing, it's like massive, and they only do like one a year, and it travels around the world to different places.
Are these Comic-Cons?
This is something separate. It is a Star Wars themed thing. And people do dress up, of course. It's not like Star Trek conventions where they're all over the country all the time. The Star Wars thing is like the one central thing where everybody comes to do that. And it's like I said, it's been in California, it's been in Florida, it's been in London and places like that. It's different. It's a different.
You get these Star Trek cruises too. So you have cruises where you get these actors show up on.
Yeah, Star Wars has never done anything like that.
Yeah.
Is that beneath Star Wars, Ted?
No, because I'm
sure Mark Hamill would do it if you paid him enough money.
Well, they got their own little theme park area, so I mean, there you go. And
Disney. But as far as Mark Hamill goes, of course, everybody knows him for being Luke Skywalker, but he's made a huge impact on the convention circuit because he was the voice of the animated Joker in the animated Batman series.
Yeah, but he's still always going to be Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
So.
People like me don't know who that is, so
it's like Shatner. Shatner being Captain Kirk and then becoming T.J. Hooker. You can recognize him for being both,
right?
But in the end of the day, he's Luke Skywalker and Shatner is Captain Kirk.
Yeah, I know it might not be necessarily your thing, though. I think it's on Max. Check out The Killing Joke. It's actually a really, really good, because I was very apprehensive of it. It's an actually really good animated Batman thing. And, of course, Mark Hamill does the voice of the Joker.
I've seen some of the
Killing
Batmans
Joke is amazing. And it actually made me want to go get the graphic novel.
So let's pivot over to the actors here. So this is kind of based on Star Trek a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Shatner had didn't have good working relationships with everybody. Sometimes he would have good relations, sometimes he wouldn't. Sometimes he would never.
Unless he was screwing them.
Some of them hated him. Some of them hated him. Some of them liked him. I mean, like, for instance, Leonard Nimoy went back and forth a lot throughout the years. They actually were really close for a while. Mm-hmm. And I think towards the end, they got separated because Shatner did a show called The Captains. And he used stuff that Nimoy didn't approve of, and it kind of soured their relationship to the point where Nimoy died. He wasn't wanted to even show up at the funeral. So
really, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Really
and of course, George Takei, he does not like Shatner at all. And then others just, James Doohan didn't care for him. Walter Koenig and Nichelle Nichols, they both were just kind of, he's all right. They didn't have, I think they just played in the middle. But that's actors, though. I mean, actors are like, they want to have that spotlight. And Shatner was the lead of Star Trek, so he kind of did those things like stole lines and close-ups and things of that nature.
Well, I mean, when you're the star of stars, that's kind of what you do. But it's interesting, one of the hallmark moments of the Star Trek TV show that caused everything was Shatner pushed for him to kiss Nichelle Nichols.
Yeah.
And because that was the first time.
That was even before they did it on TV. So.
Okay. So, but no, that was the first time a white man and a black woman kissed on TV. And that was that's a huge thing. So
he also kissed the green woman and purple woman.
A lot of other items,
but by all accounts, for everything that I've ever read about that, Shatner pushed for that to be done.
Yes, he did.
And he didn't care about the fallout either. We're going to do it, and it's going to be that. And that's really admirable by Shatner to do that.
I think with actors, with anybody, people mesh well or they don't mesh well with people. I mean, it is what it is. It depends on what you want to get out of it. So, like, we take a look at these characters. So we see Jason is kind of a, he does these one-offs without them, and he is a little bit all about himself.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. And I guess,
Tim Allen's not really playing out of character here. Because according to people who were on the TV show Home Improvement, that's kind of how he acted.
Well, then he's the perfect role for this.
Yeah, he's perfect for this. I think he's really good here. I really do.
Yeah, I think so. And, I mean, if we take a look at each one of them, what their relationship is, it looks like, Jason and Gwen had a thing.
Yes, at one point, yeah.
At one point,
yeah.
Yeah, she kind of denies it, though, too. It's funny.
What makes it think that I think that it did happen was she said it was cute before I knew who you were.
Right,
and so it was kind of like, I think she thought he was cute and then realized, what kind of person he was.
That he was a dick.
To somewhat. But again, like I said, he treats his fans very well.
Right.
He seems to be generally a nice guy, but he does need the spotlight.
Yes.
And I think when people want the spotlight and others want that spotlight as well, that's where that friction comes in. And that's where you get the scene-stealing hack type of thing that they're talking about here. And what Shatner was accused of, because they want the spotlight as well. And some people don't care. Some actors are just happy to be there. I think of Guy's character when he says, I'm just jazzed to be here, right?
Right.
And that's how some people are. But you guys were talking about Alan Rickman's character and how he...
he's so funny.
He has that nervous breakdown, and...
It's great.
He's so done saying that line. He is just so done.
It's yes, and this is what I really like, and we'll talk about it later. His disdain for the line is great here at the beginning. That he hates it, and it makes it really nice later.
Or when he has to say it at the car dealership.
Yeah,
what a savings!
He hates it. Yeah, what a savings.
Oh no, it's electronics store.
Oh, the
electronics store. Yes.
Right.
It's like what a savings. Yes.
Yeah, it's like they're opening up a bargain basement Circuit City or something. Yeah. Oh, that makes us sound all.
There's no one there in the crowd either. Just like,
and of course Jason doesn't show up because it's beneath him.
He doesn't show up to that because of the fact that he's late. He doesn't.
Well,
it's not his belief. He is willing to sacrifice his integrity to do these things in people's basements.
Oh, he has no integrity.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he is.
he's willing to sell himself to the highest bidder.
Shamelessly no integrity. That's funny. But
here go with the Fred character. Fred is the only one that doesn't really have an opinion about
anything because he's high. Yeah, that's funny that Tony Shalhoub's supposed to be high.
Yes, exactly.
And I never caught that. I just thought he was funny.
That's why he's late to get on the thing because he's hungry.
Right. So
exactly.
You keep bringing this up, and
you're
makes
seeing
sense
it now, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes, and it's very funny.
What's different here is they all still care about each other. So when Jason loses it, Gwen is really worried about him because he doesn't lose it with fans. And of course, Alan Rickman's character is like, he's mentally unstable to begin with.
That's what makes this a good movie. Is that you really do buy the fact that these people all get along. You actually get the feeling that these characters did the show together and that they cared about each other and they have this community that
they're all disgruntled now that they have no careers except for the show. They're on the fan circuit.
And, I don't think it's interesting that Alan Rickman's character and the Gwen character are actually on the phone talking to each other. That even though it's a small little scene there, it means a lot. It goes a long way because it does say that they are, like you said, they're kind of tied together. I mean, how many of these Comic-Cons and appearances do they make together? They know each other extremely well, right?
Right. But you're exactly right, Ken. That scene, it's small and it's there, but it does so much to build that feeling that these people mean something to each other. It's a testament to the actors here. I know that I was hard on Tim Allen in the Santa Claus episode, but he gets it here when he's around real serious actors. That's the biggest reason this movie works. You can suspend disbelief for a while and really think that these actors are playing real people. I think that's a huge part of why I like a lot of movies, is you can suspend that disbelief for an hour and a half and get lost in their world.
I think it's because they give them some background. They give them a little bit of, like I said earlier, they're not one-dimensional. They are struggling with being has-been actors. Each of them are handling it differently. Alan Rickman's characters, having panic attacks.
Yeah, he wants to go back and play Hamlet.
And Laredo was just a child actor, so
right.
Yeah.
He's a funny actor. The guy who plays him is really funny too. I really like him.
Yeah, he's been in a number of things. He lost the use of his legs though, due to an accident years back.
Oh,
so
damn!
He's been unfortunately he's been in a wheelchair for a while now. So
I guess I am kind of tipping my cap as a little bit as to how I feel about the movie, but the movie works. And yeah, Star Trek's not my thing. I don't hate Star Trek by any stretch of the imagination. I like that it teases, but it doesn't make total fun of the people at these conventions. Because these people who go to these conventions are passionate about what they're doing. And it makes total sense to me.
Well, I think that's why it's important. Important to introduce these characters, like Justin Long's character at the beginning here, which Jason dismisses numerous times. I mean, which is funny because we just talked about the fact that Jason's really good with his fans, but he dismisses him at first because
it's right after the bathroom incident.
Well, there's the bathroom incident, but there's also the Gwen. He sees Gwen looking at him, so he's like, you know what, guys, I gotta go, go here with Gwen. And then
I would have too.
And then he bumps into him later on and knocks him down, and so it's like, at this time as a fan, a regular fan, just like it would probably be like write him off and stuff. But I think, and we'll talk about later, is the progression of how he treats the fan now and how he relies on them later. But I before we do that, I do want us to touch on the fact that he does go into space. You got the Thermians here, which are very interesting. Well,
the fact that it doesn't destroy these people who come to these conventions, it makes it more realistic that these aliens show up at this convention, and Jason's just kind of, he kind of is like, okay, you guys are just a little bit out there, but it makes you wonder as the viewer, are these guys for real? Or are they part of the convention? So that provides a level of realism to those characters too, which could have been just played off as weirdos. You know what I mean?
Right.
It takes it a little bit seriously. And so I actually sat there and I was contemplating, I'm like, are these guys part of the convention or are these guys for real? Are they really aliens?
You really don't know early on.
Right. Yeah, and
because some of those people take it really seriously,
and they'll talk like that just because
because you have the people who go to the conventions that talk like Data and Jean-Luc Picard and all these people, and it's and of course everybody has a Shatner impression, but
Enrico Colantoni, I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah,
he actually came up with that voice, and they actually didn't hire him initially when he first auditioned for it. He used that voice, and then they taped it, and then they showed other people do how they wanted it done.
Exactly.
So that was kind of fun. That's kind of a weird way to do it. In fact, that's probably not the right way to do it. Is borrow somebody's tape and not hire him first.
I like them. If the movie destroyed these people who are and completely made fun of them, then you don't have any sort of feeling for the aliens, and I think it's hilarious when they beam Jason up to the starship, and he's walking around, and he's looking for like catering and stuff.
Right,
It's like,
right.
it's pretty funny, in my opinion. I don't know.
Well, he thinks he's on a set. He's amazingly
Right.
enough. He doesn't realize where he's at until he gets beamed out of there. But Thermians are interesting because they are childlike, but they're intelligent. So they have different aspects of how they are. They're scientifically they can recreate anything, right? Because look at
Human
the ship
forms.
here, and but
They're actually octopi people.
But they struggle with the concept of this being a TV show or theater.
Right.
Like
they have no idea.
They have no idea of it. But there's something you got to appreciate them for, because they're played off to a certain extent as being like not capable of doing certain things, right? And that's why they need Jason and his crew, because they're not leaders, or they're not well in doing battle or confrontation and things of that nature. But as we go through the movie, we'll see that they actually are. They just don't realize it, that they are actually capable of all that stuff.
And that's a cool part of the movie too. Yeah, because they seem very, very outmanned and outgunned by the leaders of Gore. Saris.
Saris.
And Saris is an awesome looking character. Great job on the makeup there.
All of the makeup here is really good. But yeah, he looks like Oderus Urungus from Gore. And I can't stop thinking about that now.
I mean, if you consider that this wasn't supposed to be a big budgeted, this is not a Men in Black thing, with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones.
Right.
The makeup that's being done here and the animatronics that's being done here, this is really well done.
Effects are very good. Yeah.
For a lower budgeted movie.
Yeah, the makeup and special effects are all done by Stan Winston. That's why they're awesome. Because Stan Winston is a master. He is the master. Probably outside of Industrial Light and Magic, which they did a lot of stuff on this movie as well. Stan Winston's amazing. He's the grandfather of all of this, and you can tell that's really cool that way.
So I think right now we need to go to the build. So Eric, why don't you go ahead and take us to the build?
After the grateful Thermians transport him back to Earth, Jason realizes the experience was real and attempts to convince the other cast members. When the Thermian Lalari seeks Jason's help again, the cast joins him, along with the convention MC, Guy, who had played an ill-fated extra in one episode. Aboard the Protector, the cast learn that the Thermians, who possess no concept of fiction, believe the episodes of Galaxy Quest are true historical documents. Inspired by the crew's adventures, they have based their society on the virtues espoused by the show. Saris returns and demands the Omega-13 device. He attacks the Protector again, and the ship barely escapes through a magnetic minefield. However, the ship's power source, a Balerium spear, is severely damaged. The humans travel to a nearby planet and take a replacement spear from ferocious, childlike alien miners. Or miners. On their return to the Protector, they discover that Saris has seized the ship. After Jason confesses that they are just actors, Saris forces him to explain the truth to the delusion Thermian leader Mathazar. Saris activates the Protector's self-destruct mechanism and returns to his ship. Exciting stuff.
I mean, we were talking about, they just did the electronic store opening and they're signing autographs and everything. And Jason comes out of nowhere and he tells them, hey, it's real.
And let's think about this. The only reason why they go to Jason is because they think it's a paid gig.
Because how many times has he done this without them? And he's like, when is he going to ask them again? Right.
He is Shatner.
He is Shatner. Right. But the difference between here and Star Trek, Shatner and Nimoy were kind of almost equals.
True.
So whereas here, Jason is the top bill by far,
Right.
and then everybody kind of drops off.
Yeah. Yeah. If you wanted to make it more realistic, Alan Rickman's character should have been bigger.
Should have been a bigger banana.
But I like him as his character here.
And he's got his own following. You got the other nerds that dress up to look like him, and he can't stand that.
He hates them. It's so funny. But I think it's neat how they like bubble Jason back down to Earth, and that's how he realizes that he's had a real experience, and it was not for a joke. But Tim Allen plays it really well, trying to convince everybody else, and they're all like, okay, yeah, you're taking yourself very seriously again, and you're overblowing your meaning to everything.
Well, even when the aliens show up, they think that he is
he's joking them.
Well, yeah, that he's kind of like playing into their like mental instabilities and stuff like that.
One of my favorite parts, though, is when everybody gets beamed up to the ship, and they're all kind of like, and they're like, "Holy crap!"
They got all the octopus-looking guys coming out. And they got these devices. We don't know what these devices are, by the way. It looks like they're going to do some type of surgery on them, but
right.
Well, then again, that's where I said Fred's character, when he gets beamed up afterwards, he's like, what a trip. It doesn't faze him. He's like, that was like a ride for him.
And I just thought that was his character. That's hilarious now. And then now that makes it even funnier. I guess it does something to the body when you get beamed back up like that.
Sure. They're all stumbling around.
Stumbling around.
He's trying to give him a piece of gum, and he's just like, can't hold on to it.
It legitimately made me laugh. And I enjoyed that. I like how they're all trying to figure out that, oh my god, like everything here is like really like the TV show was, except it's real now. You get to see each character figure out that this is real, and it's not just like a collective.
And what their role is in the show, and what their role is on the ship now, being played out in real life.
Right.
And how surprised they are, and how they're like, whoa.
Yeah, and you get to feel that with them. And I think that goes a long way here, too.
And you see how it affects Jason. Jason's character is really, because he just went through a midlife crisis where he doesn't know where he is at in his life. And this is something that's way beyond what he's ever could possibly dream of. And he embraces it.
He's excited.
He's extremely excited. And he even says, do you guys want to go back to your jobs, paying your bills, doing, all this stuff? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, but they're misled here. They think they're negotiating a surrender.
Right. But that's also a cool thing about his character, though, too, is his immediate reaction to being beamed back down to Earth was that he wanted to share that experience with everybody else. He wanted them to feel what he felt. That's a very human quality that sometimes when you're watching a movie, sometimes some of the characters don't have that human-like quality. But that's a human-like quality, and I think when I was saying before, like, you feel like these people are part of like a little family. You really buy it. It's that sort of little thing that it's small. To me, it made a big difference.
I think part of this is also because of what he experienced at the convention. When those guys are saying stuff like, they can't even stand him, they hate him, he's taking all this to heart. Before he, gets abducted by the aliens that go to their ship, he's watching an episode of Galaxy Quest, and he's probably thinking about what he's done up to this point, where he's at in his relationship with his co-stars. And I think this opportunity gives him an opportunity to kind of reset everything to a certain extent. Right. And so I like this movie for that, because Jason's character throughout this whole movie, it's complex. And I think it's amazing how Tim Allen I think this is one of Tim Allen's best performances, actually.
It might be his best performance.
When he talks to Mathesar about being actors. and telling him how they pretend, they lied. That was actually very emotional for Tim Allen. Tim Allen actually had to take a moment afterwards to kind of get himself reset and everything. That's a very good scene from Tim Allen right there.
It's really good. It actually brought emotion out in me, and I'm not the biggest Tim Allen fan, but this is by far the best thing that I've ever seen him in.
You can argue that he was just a comedy person up to this point, and right here is where he actually became an actor.
Yeah, his Tool Time man. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Home Improvement is what it is. It's like Full House. It's
a little bit better.
It's pure sugar. There's
this is range.
There's no substance. This is range. Right.
Yeah.
You actually feel him feeling sad that he has to tell Mathazar that we were all just playing. It's kind of heartbreaking in a way. Literally. I mean, let's be honest. Tim Allen plays really well off of Alan Rickman and Sigourney Weaver. I mean, they're the two biggies here. I mean, Tim Allen's a huge star at this time, but it's not for his acting. Whereas Sigourney Weaver and Alan Rickman are known for their acting. They're serious actors.
And it's interesting because the way that Rickman and Allen are in this movie, they are actually this way for a portion of the production. Because Tim Allen has one way of approaching things and Rickman has another way of approaching things, and they didn't see eye to eye. And so there was a little conflict there. It wasn't terrible conflict, but there was conflict in there. Rickman questioned a comedic actor of Tim Allen. Could he pull off this role? Even though it is somewhat of a comedy, it's not a pure comedy. There are some serious elements into this film. This is a sci-fi movie with comedic tones. So Rickman, challenged Allen's ability here. And at the end of the day, it all worked out just like the movie does. I think it's interesting how, we compared this to like Shatner and Nimoy and Takai's relationship, but really Rickman and Allen's relationship kind of mirrors this as well in real life.
Yeah, I would agree.
But Tim Allen's still funny when he needs to be. When they go down onto the planet to get that ball, I really don't care about the ball. But I think it's hilarious when Tim Allen's the last one left there, and he's fighting the rock monster.
Rock monster.
Right, another Gore character. And they're trying to beam him back up. And they're like, and he only gets parts of the conversation, and Sigourney Weaver has to mute him.
Please hold.
Oh, please.
Yes.
That's really funny.
I like it when they beam up the character, whatever that warthog pig is thing, inside out, and then it explodes.
And exploded.
And then he's only hearing part of the guy's like, what?
Yeah. And Tim Allen's like, exploded.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy the beginning here of them being on the ship. First of all, the amazement that they get to see, because you guys want to see the ship, and they get on that transport and they see the ship from the outside, and they're just like in awe. But then they realize they have to pilot the ship out of space dock.
When they take it out of the dock and scrape it up. Yeah.
and he's kind of going to the left, and he's kind of scraping
he scrapes it all the way out. Yeah.
And everybody's turning their head, to the left or to the right, whatever it was. There's just so many right moves that are being done here to accept this as like we talked about, a fish out of water, a TV cast portraying, to be the real thing. And, it's amazing how they get away with it because we're slowly buying into it all. And I think it also helps the fact that when they do battle, they get annihilated. They have to, I think the ship takes a little too many more hits than it probably should have.
The Enterprise always took more hits than it needed to take.
Well, the funny joke at the end that the Therians are sorry because they didn't put them in a deeper hole than they're used to on the TV show, right? So
right,
yeah. And then of course Sigourney Weaver's character is repeating the computer, and it just gets a little annoying after a while. And she goes, "I have one job here. Yeah. It's stupid, but I'm going to do it."
It works, and
They just play off each other really well.
Right. Because let's be honest, this movie shouldn't work. And the concept's funny, but getting that from concept to actually people buying into it, that's a huge leap. It's amazing how it works, in my opinion.
I think the guy character is actually what ties everything up together, because he's the guy who's not a guy. He's not really part of this. They don't remember him from the episode that he was in.
Nobody does.
Nobody does.
Except the Thermians.
But he gets to the point where he's like, I don't even have what's my last name? And they don't know his last name. See? Right. And they're like, you have a last name. Yeah. He's like, do I? Yeah. Do I? I mean, one thing that would have been better is if his outfit was a different color than everybody else's.
It should have been red.
Red shirted or something to that extent. He could have said, everybody, in this color dies, and why am I wearing this color? Something to that. But the fun part was when they're making that plan to get the sphere. It's from the episode that he dies in.
Right, exactly. Episode yes. And he realizes it too. It's very funny because he keeps trying not to do with the thing that's going to get him killed. But yeah, I did read that Sam Rockwell based his performance and his character off of Bill Paxton's Bill Paxton's character from Aliens, which he's a unintentionally funny character in Aliens, but that's what he did, and he does it well because he's always worried about dying, and it makes it very funny.
Well, he's the odd man out. He's the one. Right. He's the crew member that doesn't belong here, right? And
right.
And that's why I think it brings it together. Whereas when I was younger, I thought what was this character needed for? But as I gotten older, this character is so important. I mean, it gets to the point where he's willing to sacrifice his life to save others because he thinks he is a glorified extra, right?
Right. And it makes a big difference, too, when they have the conversation that gives him the courage that I believe it's Tony Shalhoub's character, right? That gives him the confidence and says, no, you're
the
good.
The plucky comic relief.
You're right. And but it gives him that confidence, and you feel for him. You're like, okay, you're part of this little family now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like you said, Ken, he's willing to sacrifice himself.
You bringing up the fact that he gets talked up. Each one of them seems to talk up each other.
Yes.
In the film at some point. Tony Shalhoub's character, he doesn't know if he can do the job as to beam him up. He was a good actor maybe back in the day, but now he's always getting high. So he even says,
right.
He even says, "I'm not that person anymore." Because
well, that and when they beamed that pig thing up, it came out inside out. That freaks him out too.
Well, but then he has that relationship with the Thermian. I have to admit, I mean, I would probably, even though she's an octopus, maybe. So,
maybe he's into tentacle things.
Her character was actually going to be smaller, but because they recognized that Sigourney Weaver's character was the only real female character in the film, They made it a little bit bigger. So
right, yeah, it's good that they did.
Yeah, I think it helps, and it takes a character like Fred's character. He needed somebody to kind of have something else going on because he's the engineer, right? So everybody gets to play off of everybody else, and I think it's nice to have that love interest. I mean, could you get away with not having in there? Probably, but I think it's kind of cute to see it in there.
It plays. It does. I like that too. So you talk about each character getting that thing. To see Alan Rickman's character connect with the guy that's supposed to be him, the Thermian that's supposed to be him, and the connection and the bond that they make is really good. And
at first he's like he tries to do right.
He's like,
no, don't do that. No,
yeah, we're not going to.
I'm warning you. Don't do that.
Yeah, and and then you start to see his character turn and really buy into everything too. And get that confidence again, and it's really done well, in my opinion. I don't know.
Two things that I wanted to point out. One, I like the scene down on the planet. I love Guy when he's like, "Have you guys ever watched the show?" Because they're like kind of like, they're like, "Oh, look at these little guys.
Let's go play with them." Yeah,
they're so cute.
Oh, there's the injured one. They're gonna help him.
Yeah, Gwen is like, "Hello, little guy. Hello, little fella." And she's like, "Have you ever seen this show before?
Have you ever watched the show?"
Yeah. So
and you knew that those little guys were going to be something
nasty
too.
Yeah.
And it's just, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're so cute."
But I think what else makes this work is you actually made Saris a bad guy, a real bad guy. He's a legitimate Star Trek bad guy. In fact, if you were putting this in the Star Trek universe, I would put him up there with some of the baddies that has been out there, because he plays it ruthlessly. There's no comedy when it comes to Saris, and I think that's great. You don't want comedy coming from your baddie here. It comes from everywhere else, and I think having that seriousness that they have to deal with Saris balances the comedy all out.
So he's the bad guy, but the thing to me that makes him a really super bad guy is when he's trying to destroy Mathazar. And he knows that, because for whatever reason, he realizes that they're actors. I don't know how that happens, but it's funny.
They show him the historical documents, and he sees that they have like names as.
Right. Yeah, and he knows that that's going to destroy Mathazar and destroy the Thermians, and he does it anyway. And then he makes Tim Allen tell him. That's some sick, sadistic stuff. If we're talking bad guys, that is a bad guy move.
It's like someone who believed in God and showing him proof that God doesn't exist. It's like
you're
just
exactly
to do it.
Right.
Not to be nice or just to do it, but to take everything away from you. Yeah. He's a great bad guy. All right, Eric, take us to the landing here.
The landing. Are we going to stick it? Let's take a look. Jason and Gwen manage to abort the self-destruct sequence by following instructions from Brandon, the leader of a group of Galaxy Quest superfans back on Earth. Meanwhile, Alexander leads a Thermian revolt against Saris forces and takes back control of the Protector. With renewed confidence, the crew challenges Saris and draws his ship into a magnetic minefield, destroying it. As they return to Earth, Saris, who escaped his ship's destruction, ambushes them on the bridge and fatally wounds several crew members. Jason activates the Omega-13, which sends everyone 13 seconds back in time and gives Jason and Malthazar a chance to stun and disarm Saris before the attack. The Protector's bridge separates from the main vessel to return the humans to Earth, while the main vessel carries the Thermians into interstellar space. The Protector bridge crashes into a Galaxy Quest convention. Dazed cast emerge to the applause of their fans. Saris awakens and levels his gun at the cast, but Jason shoots and destroys him. The crowd assumes it was all a display of special effects and cheers wildly while the crew basks in their newfound glory. Sometime later, Galaxy Quest is revived as a sequel series, Galaxy Quest The Journey Continues, with the cast reprising their roles alongside Guy and Lalari as the new cast members.
There's so much here. You remember the computer game Doom, right?
Yep.
So, like, when the one guy that's friends with Justin Long's character, Brandon, he's going through and telling them how to get through the stuff.
Yeah.
I knew some people who did mods for Doom, and they created their own levels and stuff. And that totally reminded me of that, because the tech is a little old there. I dig this. Ultimately, it's ridiculous, and I love that Sigourney Weaver's character points out how ridiculous it is that they have to go through the chompy things, because it makes no sense.
Originally, she said, "Fuck that, fuck this." They actually overdubbed it, but if you watch the movie, her mouth does say,
like a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so ridiculous. It's so because it's so over the top. And I love the fact too that the running joke is nobody knows what the Omega-13 is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's good that but then it pays off.
Nobody knows but the fans.
Exactly. Because we see at the beginning that there's a to be continued.
Mhm.
And the next episode never aired. And that's where the Omega-13 was going to be revealed, and all the fans know what it is, but nobody else knows what it is. But Saris thinks that everybody knows what it is, which is kind of funny too, because they're legitimately like, we have no idea what it is. But yeah, for Sigourney Weaver and Tim Allen to get to that self-destruct button, I love the thing that's so hilarious to me, and it made me laugh legitimately, was that it continues to count down to 1.
Right, and
just
stop.
like on a TV show.
And it stops.
And it stops. Because you know that it's going to stop, and it's just like...
They always do, right?
Down.
Yes.
Right? But they don't know that they were part of that. They know they were part of a TV show, but now it's real life to them, and they don't realize that it's part of a TV show. So it's like meta in a way.
Just to let you know, Ted, you need to go to the deleted scenes and watch Sigourney Weaver's. She had to seduce the aliens.
Oh yeah.
As a distraction. So you're going to have to watch that part.
Well, that's funny because
why is her boobs popping out later on?
All of a sudden, right here, when things start to get serious,
her clothes are all ripped off, and
she's got the uniform, but the bikini top is peeking out between.
And unfortunately, those are prosthetics.
Oh,
don't you?
Did
you really have to?
Did
you have to say that?
Well, the other thing that kind of it almost ruins it for me a little bit is I know it's not a pure comedy, but Quellic dying. Oh man, that was a little rough.
Yeah,
that's a little rough. And I don't know if you needed to do that.
I think you did, because I think it's
real life. It's not a TV show, right?
That's another one of the best scenes. Because that's where you really see Alan Rickman.
Well, he says the line finally.
Yeah.
Yes, and means it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
And because he's played it the whole time that he wants nothing to do with it. And now he knows that it means so much to this person, or this alien, that he's become attached to.
It's a Debbie Downer. It's just so hard, because the character is likable, because he's one of the few Thermians that actually have lines and get to
right.
talk to you, so you kind of invested in the character a little bit.
Yeah,
I would have loved to have seen him maybe more injured and things of that nature, and later on he finds out that he's alive, because that would be a Star Trek thing where somebody dies and comes back to life, right? So
except for the red shirts, but sometimes they even come back to life and then they die again, and then you have Tommy has to learn how to fly. Right.
So each character has given something to kind of like get themselves to a higher level than they were. So they're no longer actors. They've actually
transcended it. Yeah.
Yeah, they became the characters that they played.
Yeah, it's really cool that way.
When Alan Rickman and Tim Allen's characters are fighting, and they're throwing their punches and scene stealing hack
right.
and all that. And they get the aliens behind the door, and the door, shoots out them out into space. Schloop's character, he's like, "Oh, I'll get some
WD-40 and fix that right up." And he's cool high then too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch the movie now, because that's hilarious. But I do like the fact that at the end, Alan Rickman and Tim Allen, their characters work together, kind of like Spock and Kirk.
A little bit.
Yeah, because they always seem to be at odds until they need to work together. And then The way
on
that
the TV show, they were always together. They were
Yeah.
never at odds.
the movies are a little bit different.
But the actors, maybe it's more, the actors themselves, they were probably on different fields, I guess.
And you feel that because Rickman does such a good job, and Tim Allen does here as well, where they finally find an affection for each other. And they kind of get each other, and they have to work together to save everybody.
Oh yeah, they've been through a life and death experience just now. They bonded.
No, but I think it's a really good job, and I think that the actors here do an amazing job. And Tim Allen's character has to give Fred the confidence to do his job, and you get that Tim Allen becomes that Jason's character becomes a real life commander. And
Cyrus is like, the TV actor wants to play commander.
Right. But then you get that he actually becomes a commander, and I buy it. I really do. To me, it was cool.
And the relationship, of course, with the fans, dismissing the fans at the beginning, and now relying on the fans to get them through this. So
one of the funny things that we didn't touch on is when they're signing the autographs, and Tim Allen is just signing, and then he like pushes the photo, and he just keeps doing it.
So does Rickman. Rickman does it too.
Rickman does it too. It's funny.
And he goes off on Brandon and tells him that it's just a TV show, and he tries to kind of take away that what we were talking about earlier with Saris, wanting to explain how they're just actors, and it's basically Jason does the same thing to Brandon's character earlier in the film. He kind of tries to take away everything that is dear to him, and he goes off on him. And he doesn't do it. He doesn't try to do it maliciously. The intent is just that he's in a bad mood. I mean, that's the reason why he goes off on him. But then it's rectified here, and he helps them get through it
because he realizes that these super fans know more about the TV show than they do. And it's funny that they are able to communicate and get them through this.
Because he asked him, "What does the Omega 13 do?" And he knows. Most of us believe it does this, and he relies on that for them to save each other, and get that moment back. I like how that works. Even before, when they find out, when she's like, "Well, what good is that?" And he goes, "Well, it's good enough to fix one mistake." He's not thinking of later on about Saris. He's probably thinking about his relationships with the people that he's been with all these years.
There's more layers to that.
Yeah, this is a very layered movie. I mean, the writers have done an extremely good job of just building a lot of character and layers into these individuals, especially Jason.
They pull it off, and Tim Allen pulls it off. You get that layered feeling that, yes, he's going back 13 seconds and whatever, but the way that Tim Allen emotes here, you get that layered. It's like, okay, I'm repairing everything that I've done to my friends. Yeah, it's cool, and it's funny at the end. Let's be honest, when they crash through to the convention and everything seems everybody at the convention.
Yeah, there's got to be some explaining to do after the fact. I mean, the fans might be buying it then, but later on, when everybody sees that there's a hole in the wall and there's the actual spaceship here.
That was the one part of the movie I wasn't crazy about, was the ending.
Oh yeah,
I didn't really like the ending.
I like the ending for one reason, and here's the reason. At the beginning of the movie, when they introduce everybody, they introduce them separately, and Jason has got the big spotlight at the end.
Right.
Whereas here at the end, he invites them all to share the spotlight.
Oh, yeah, it's a learning curve, yep.
And I think that's why I like the ending here. Is it a little hokey? But yeah, the whole movie is hokey.
I like the fact that Alan Rickman's his cap starts
the hair starts popping through, and
yes, that's hilarious.
I like it when the MC announces them, and he's like, give him like applause. He's British. Yeah,
he's British. Yeah.
The thing that I thought was a little bit hokey was that Saris pops up again after he had been killed already.
Yeah.
Well, he hadn't been killed. He was just knocked out.
Okay.
Because
I thought he was
Mathesar,
killed.
he just took his cane and just kind of hit him over the head with him. And the reason why they forgot about him is, well, they just crashed and they were disorientated.
Well, true. Yeah, I mean,
so
a crash will do that to you.
Sure.
But then Jason loves to tumble. Earlier we saw him on the planet and he's doing the tumbling thing. He does it here again.
It was Sigourney Weaver that says,
Does it help?
Does the tumbling help?
Yeah.
And he goes, yes, it does. That's funny.
Or when Rickman's character's like, I see you found another opportunity to take your shirt off. Yeah.
Yes.
Yet another opportunity. Yeah.
I like the ending because, again, he's repaired that relationship with his cast, but also with his fans. He's down below and he's recognizing them as well. Yeah, is it a little over the top? Yeah, but this whole, like I said, this whole movie is over the top.
Everything's a little bit over the top.
Yeah,
and that's.
I would have loved to seen a sequel to this. I know they talked about it for years. They talked about a television series. This would have been great for a television series. I mean, you're already past Home Improvement time. Tim Allen doesn't have really anything on his docket. Why not this as a?
Didn't Home Improvement go into the 2000s though?
I think it was over by this particular time.
I think it went a little longer.
Because I'm always confused because when my ex-wife and I rewatched Friends, I forgot that Friends went past 9/11 and everything.
Oh yeah, well past. Yeah.
Yeah. And Full House went way longer than it should have.
Yeah.
Home Improvement went to May 25th, 1999.
Oh,
so
wow.
it just had
ended.
Just ended.
So he has some time on his hands.
Yeah. All the cast enjoyed working with each other. This would have been a fun little, hey, let's do something like this as a TV series. I think it would have worked.
It might have, but I think that they captured lightning in a bottle here. And
you would have had to have really good writers to continue the level that this was on.
Pulling off a sequel to something like this would be so incredibly difficult.
You'd have to get the whole cast back too.
Yeah, well, now that Alan Rickman's gone, there's no way of doing that, of course. I mean, they're still talking about possibly
there's a
doing
way
it,
that they could do it where his character is killed off.
Replaced by his son.
Oh, wow.
Why not?
Yeah. The script would have to be amazing. That's the thing, and you would have to have everybody buy in. Because I think everybody bought into this movie.
But they're at that age now where I think they would have to be supporting characters. They couldn't be the main characters.
Kind of like J.J. Abrams rebooting. He rebooted Star Trek to begin with. That would be an interesting take. Is if you had a new director, but part of the movie, have a new director come in and recast the Galaxy Quest people, but then they have to connect with the older cast.
Well, it's kind of it would be kind of like the Next Generation in Star Trek, where the Next Generation of Star Trek is all new actors, but the old Star Trek people were still around. They were doing movies and stuff like that because they moved on past the TV shows per se. You would make fun of that to some extent.
Yeah. I think now that so much time has passed since Galaxy Quest came out, having a director come and reboot it and do that would be kind of
Well, there's
funny.
so much more to work with now because you have all these other movies like the reboot, and you could throw some Star Wars in there too. There's a lot of things that, because Star Wars has all these television shows now. You can make fun of some of the tropes that they do now and add that into it. So I think you could do it.
Let's don't poke the Star Wars fans because
we've already poked them with Spaceballs.
They're annoying.
Yeah,
that was
the flamethrower.
That was way before the Star Wars fans became toxic. I don't like the majority of them. It would have to be done very delicately if they tried to do a sequel.
All right, should we go to our reviews?
Let's do it. Let's go to the reviews. Ken, why don't you start us off?
This movie is amazing to me. I like it more than the majority of Star Trek movies. I was debating this the other day. This might be my third or fourth favorite Star Trek film of all time. So I love Tim Allen in this movie. I don't know if this comes directly from Tim Allen or this comes from the director, but well done on Tim Allen's part on it. And I like Tim Allen in general. So I mean, if you do something well, like Home Improvement, and then again with Last Man Standing, and he's got a new show coming up around the corner as well. If that's your shtick and you're good at it, keep doing it. But this movie gives him a little bit more range, and I appreciate that. And I like every character in this movie. There's not one character that I can actually say I didn't care for. All the characters contribute in a way that I enjoy, makes me enjoy the movie. I wish there was a sequel. I would love to see more of this. I'll go straight to it. It's a 4.5 hook movie for me. This is a movie that I can watch over and over again after all these years. So yeah, 4.5 hooks.
Okay, how about you, Ted?
So, I'll be perfectly honest.
No, lie to us. We like it.
I wasn't really looking forward to watching the movie. And then watching it, I really enjoyed it. This is probably, Ken said it's probably his third or fourth favorite Star Trek movie, but it's funny because you brought that up, because J.J. Abrams, when he was redoing the Star Trek movies, he said that Galaxy Quest was one of his favorite Star Trek movies. So that you brought that up, I thought that was pretty interesting. This is probably my second favorite Star Trek movie. Because it's great. I can't praise Alan Rickman anymore, and Sigourney Weaver. She's very funny here. But the thing that really shocked me the most was Tim Allen. Yes, he does one thing very well, but the shtick gets old after a while. I actually wish Tim Allen did more roles where he could show his range rather than just play the hits, because that's always been my knock on him. He really does a really good job here. The acting here is superb from top to bottom, and like Ken said, all the characters are awesome. You feel a connection to each one of them. I'm actually excited to go back and rewatch it again now that I know that Fred's high in the entire movie. And I get to rewatch Sigourney Weaver again
with her prosthetics.
Because wow, they're not prosthetics. Stop. I don't believe Ken, and I don't believe it at all. It's a fun, great movie, and I was very well entertained, and I enjoyed myself a lot. So for me, this is a perfect 4 for me. Not a lot of people, they really hate the movie Fanboys, but to me, it's a better version of Fanboys. I think it's cool, and I enjoyed it. What do you think, Eric?
It's a fun movie. I haven't seen this movie probably in 5 years, give or take. But it's a fun movie all the way through. It doesn't take itself very seriously. The cast is very believable that they actually were on the show together. And this is it is an homage to Star Trek and an homage to the circuit of the conventions that these guys go on. It's a fun movie. Everything about this movie is fun. I really didn't have any major issues with it. I wasn't crazy about the ending. That's the only dig I'll give on it. But overall, it's a great watch, and I really enjoyed it. And it is a solid 4 hooks for me as well. We all like it. Yay!
Yeah, and this has happened a few times throughout the course of us doing the podcast. I actually like the movie even more now because of the way we've talked and interacted with it.
There you go.
And I know that's happened with Ken with a couple of movies too.
So what is the next movie we're going to be reviewing, Ken?
So the next movies that we're going to be reviewing are the Cannonball Run movies, Cannonball Run 1 and 2. So be on the lookout on that in the upcoming year.
Now, there are some movies that don't take themselves seriously. That's all the time we have for this episode of Hooked on Movies podcast. And as always, if you build it, he will come.
See you at the movies. Nanu
Yeah.
Nanu.
See you next time on Hooked on Movies, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.